Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I have another homeschooling video for you today, and today I'm going to chat with you about how I go about reporting the progress for my homeschooling students. If you're new around these parts, welcome. I have been homeschooling, this is my second year, and I have a 12-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, and I have a 5-year-old, and I have a 3-year-old. So I'm currently homeschooling three of my children, so grade 6, grade 2, and pre-primary. As I said, today we're going to talk about how I do reporting on progress of my students and how I report back to my moderator so I can tell her what we've been doing throughout the year. Now, my approach to reporting on progress and or if you want to call it testing and all that kind of stuff, is actually a really simple and really easy approach to keeping a record of my children's progress. I don't go all out with doing testing and things like that. I just have a very simple approach. So let me break it down really easily for you. First of all, let me share with you what I do for our language and literacy. So for that subject, I actually use an online program. We use Literacy Planet, and that is excellent because you can go into their profiles and have a look at how they're going. They're actually keeping a record of how they're moving through spelling, reading, dictation, and all of those kind of things. So you can go into the program and have a look at how they are achieving, and you can print out results from that as well to show your moderator. So that is really easy, and that's why I like to go with online programs for literacy and for math, because all that kind of reporting and assessment stuff is actually done within the program. And so what I do is I go in every now and then and have a look at their progress and how they're going, and I actually look for weak areas. And so I look for the weak areas that maybe we need to go back in the program and try again, or I may need to add in some other activities to support them in that area. And so for us, I do literacy, as I said, online, and I add in reading aloud to the children will read aloud to me, and then I also add in a writing program as well, because I felt that my children were lacking in that area. And so then I add in a writing program too. But for language and literacy, I just can print off the results, and I can have them for my moderator if she would like to see them, and just for me so that I know how they're going in those areas, and any identify any weak areas and then add in or help them out in those areas. Now, for assessing reading, as I said, my children read aloud to me, and so what I will do with assessing reading is actually get my children to read aloud to somebody else who's not me. And so they will read to their dad or to their nana or their pop, and so that someone else is reading and they can see how they're going. And so that's how I assess how they're going with their reading. And then for handwriting, this is a really easy one to do. I just take a handwriting sample each term. And so I would just give them, so normally I do handwriting in a book, and so instead I would give them a piece of paper and just give them some letters or some sentences to write, and they will write those down, and then I make sure I date them. And so at the end of the year, I will have a progress of how their handwriting is going as well. And so that is all that I do for assessing language and literacy. So in terms of having documents, I will have a printout of the online program, the areas that I've identified as some weak areas. So for us is writing. So I might grab a couple of writing samples from each term and put them with that document. I will have my children read aloud. You can record that if you wanted to. So you record them reading aloud, say once every term. And so then you can see, you have a recording of the progress, and then the handwriting sample for each term. So I don't do spelling tests, I don't do dictation tests or anything like that, in terms of just gathering the work homework, I'll have the assessment from online, I'll have maybe an audio recording, and I'll have samples of handwriting and samples of writing from 4 terms. And I just gather that together and pop it into a file, and then I've been able to show progress for language and literacy over the year. Now for math, we also use another online program. We use Maths Online, and that is aligned with the Australian curriculum. So right then and there, you don't even need to do more than that because everything is inbuilt into the program. You can print off results like this, and so this is just when I printed off for first semester, and then I can print those results off again for second semester, and then we just have some progress with that. What I do with the online program is I go into the program and just have a look for any weak areas that I can help out, or we can go back and do or do extra work with. So for example, on this printout, anything that is yellow is something that they need a little bit more work with. And so this yellow one here, she only achieved 60%, which actually is pretty good. But the yellow, so what I will just do is look for anything that is yellow, and then I'll be like, okay, let's go back and see if we can work on that and improve your score, and see if she has improved through the year, or I might do some hands-on things with her. And so basically that's all I do for maths. I just have the printout, and then every term I will just check how they're going and look for any areas that I can help them with, so that we can bring their scores up. So that's all I do for record keeping for maths. Now for the other subjects, which is history, geography and science, we just take again a very, very simple approach. So for history, we do Story of the World. And so I read aloud to my children, and then once I have read aloud each lesson, the children then recite back to me what they learnt from me reading aloud to them. And so that way I can test on the spot whether or not they have been paying attention, have understood and retained information about what I have just read. And so that kind of takes away the need to do testing with history, because actually each lesson, after I've read aloud, they will talk back to me what it is that they learnt from that chapter. And we'll also do discussion questions as well. And so that's kind of an ongoing learning thing that we are doing. Now, if you do need to keep a record for your moderator, all you simply need to do is I could actually just record one of those sessions. I don't have to record all of those sessions. I might do it once a term. And so I'll end up with 4 because we do 4 terms. I will just record them, whether it's video or voice recording, them reciting back to me what they have learned. It can be as simple as that, or with the discussion questions, I might actually write them out and have them answer those discussion questions. And there you have a simple progress report of what they have been doing. And so if you need to collect work samples, then that's a perfect way to provide some work samples about what they have been learning. Or what you can do is when you get to the end of the term is that you can give them some of the topics that you've been learning about in that term. So you might have 3 topics that you were learning in history, and they get to choose which one they would like to tell you all about. And so that's giving them some free choice. And then you could simply record, again, do a voice recording or a video recording of what they tell you. Or you could do a jot it down activity. They could tell you, and then you could scribe or write down what it is that they told you. Or you could turn it into a project. Hey, could you make a PowerPoint presentation on that topic? Or could you make a poster on that topic? Something really, really fun that they love to do. I know for my son, who's in grade 12, he hates to write. And if I was to get him to write down all he knows about that topic, I would actually get hardly any information out of him, purely because he doesn't like to write. But he loves to talk. And so I would just do the, hey, can you tell me about it? And I would record him, or I would write it down, because that's the best way that I'm going to get the information out of him. I know if I make up some kind of written activity or test, he will just totally bomb out. But I know that he knows. And I know that he knows because we've been doing recitation throughout every lesson, and he always gives me interesting facts all the time. So that is how I do history, and I would do the same for geography and science as well. And so as we're doing a geography lesson, I will read aloud to them, and then I'll say, hey, what did I just read? And they'll recite back to me, and I would just do the same. And the same with science. And so, for example, science, we in first or second, I can't remember, but we were doing the human body unit. And so when we get at the end of the human body unit, I will say to my students, hey, pick one area that we learnt about. And so for the human body unit, we're going through the systems, we're going through muscular systems, the skeletal systems, all those kind of things. And so instead of testing them on all of them, I would just say to them, hey, pick one that and tell me all about what it is that we learnt. And then doing the same thing again, recording what they're saying or writing it down or videoing them. Or if they would like to do some kind of fun project, you could do that as well. But it's about when you're collecting samples of work and how they're going, you're not trying to trick your students. I feel like testing is trying to trick them, trying to see if they know the right answer. And I just don't like doing that. I try and set them up in the best way possible. And just knowing my students, as I say, I know my 12-year-old hates to write. So when it comes to testing him or testing his knowledge, I'm never going to get him to write it at this stage because I know I just won't get all the right information out. And for my daughter, she loves doing computer work for making reports on things. She loves to put together PowerPoint presentations or picture graphs and all those kind of things. And so we'll use the computer to put something together that shows what it is that she has learnt. So knowing your students and know how to get the best way out of them is the best way to do that. And if you want to keep work samples of what they've been doing through the term. So you might just pick out one or two things from the human body unit and you just put it in with the handwriting sample and things like that. And you kind of collect a little portfolio of work as you go throughout the year. Another couple of ideas that you can do is as well is just find someone else who has done some kind of checklist and just use theirs. And so Teachers Pay Teachers is a website that I love and it has things on there that you can find and use. And so that's something that I do. I have purchased these education goals from Whispering Waters, which I use all the time, and I'll leave this linked in the description box down below. And she has one for all of the grades, and she's just simplified the Australian curriculum and makes it so much easier for us homeschoolers to use. So she's already done the work for you. So basically she lists out, so this is grade 1. She lists out all the things that the children need to do in this year. So for example, this is all the things they need to do for language. This is the maths and science skills that they need to know, social studies and health, and arts and technology, and it's simply laid out. But then she also has them all in this checklist. And so you can simply print this off, and as you're going through looking for these work samples, you can just tick off, yes, I've done it, and you can put the date that they have achieved that, or that they're remember also with these, you can be working towards these things. You don't have to be completely achieving them. You can still be working towards them. And so you might, this is just a great checklist to tick off what they're doing. And then for some of, I wouldn't do it for all of these because there's quite a lot, but you might pick some of these out to show progress and collect a work sample. So you'd have your checklist with your ticks, and then behind that in your file, you could pop the different work samples. So there's the language one there. Again, I don't use that because I have an online language program. And so it has the language, and then it has the math. Again, I use online, so I don't need to worry about that. But then it does have the science. So let me just give you a little example. It says, I can, and here it says, talk about living things and the places that they live. And so I might put, yes, they can do that, and I put a tick there, and then I might collect a work sample for that. So it might be a voice recording of my daughter telling me about a particular animal and their habitat, or she might have done a little project or a little assignment, and then you can gather that with that. But I wouldn't get a sample for everything. You might just pick a few things. Or another idea is actually to pick the week subject or the week area that you're working on, and just collect samples to show progress in that. So for example, my children with writing, that's one thing we're really working on this year. And so I will make sure that I take a writing sample from the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and the end of the year, so that I can show progress. They might not have fully achieved the standard or whatever that is, but I can show from the beginning of the year to the end of the year that they have made progress in their writing, whether it's their handwriting is neater, their content is longer, their sentence structure is better. For the younger years, look, they are now fully using capital letters and full stops and things like that. Collecting samples is about showing progress, and so just taking a small sample from the beginning of the year, small from the middle, small for the end, so that you can see that they've made progress throughout the year. So grabbing someone else's checklist is a really good idea, and even if you're not planning on showing this to your moderator, it's just a good idea for you to see, hey, these are the things that are expected of me of the Australian curriculum, and have I been meeting some of those? So this is really, really handy. Another thing you can do is actually just journaling what it is that your students have been doing. So what we do, this is my diary or my planner, and it's just a 2020 planner that I picked up from Kmart. And basically each day I just write down what they have done that day. So for example, we did a homeschooling outing, it was snorkeling, so I wrote that down. We read aloud from the Burgess Animal book. We did writing, William did a book report, Emily did diary writing. We did reading, we worked on Literacy Planet, we worked on maths, and we also did times table practice. And so I've got a record of all the learning that we have done, and then I will make notes on that page about anything extra. Like I said, we went snorkeling, and so that's not something that I would have put in my beginning of the year, hey, this is what I'm going to do learning with my children. So incidentally, we've done extra learning, and so I'll make note of the extra things that we have done. I might make note of, I've noticed that my child is not forming their letters properly, in particular D and B and P and Q, and they need a little bit more work. And so making notes like that, excuse me, and then to self-work on that, and then collect a work sample and even just pop it in there, and then a little bit down the track, double check that and go, yes, they're doing it better, pop a little work sample there. Or just kind of journaling the learning that has been taking place, journaling any progress that you notice while you're doing something. You don't necessarily have to collect the actual work sample, but just actually making notes. So almost like a running record or a diary entries of how the kids are going and the progress that they're making, and just the little things that you note, so that you can get to often the moderator will come back and go, how did you go last year? And you're like, I can't remember much about what happened. And so if you just having it written out in your book and making those little notes can help you in remembering what happened and things like that. And so that's another easy and good idea. Now, each moderator is really, really different. And so you'll just need to get to know your moderator and how it is they would like to report back to you, or what it is that they would like to see when they come and visit you and talk about all the things. And so that is just my suggestion, is get to know your moderator and how they would like you to report back to them, and go from there. Now, remember, anything that a moderator does ask you to do is is just a suggestion. You don't have to do it their way. You can do it your own way. They can be flexible, but just have a conversation with them and just find out from them, hey, what are your expectations of me? Just say, that's what I said to my moderator, when you come back in a year's time, what is it that you're going to want from me? Are you going to want work samples? Are you going to want to see results or testing or videos or a portfolio? Just really find out what their expectations are so that you know what they are, and you can be working on gathering all that information throughout the year to present to them. So that's my best advice. Best advice for you. I've got a little visitor down here. Now my moderator is a lovely, lovely lady, and she is super cruisy. I think that's a real Australian term. But she's very understanding and very easy to work with. And I didn't have to provide work samples or anything like that. She actually just did it all through conversation with me. And it was just said, how did you go? What did your homeschooling year look like? Did you stick with the curriculum that you said that you were going to use? How did that go? Do you think your children have shown progress, and in what ways? And we just had a conversation about it. Now, our meeting was during a COVID lockdown time, and so she couldn't come to my home and see work samples and things like that. We actually had a Zoom meeting, and so maybe that looked a little bit different, and she wasn't going to get me to hold things up and things like that. But she was just really great. We all did it through conversation, which I love because I can actually get out through talking what it is that my children have done, how we went and things like that. Talk to her about the weaknesses that I saw in my children at the beginning of last year, and the progress that I had thought they had made. I was able to tell her about that, things that we were excited about. And so that's how I reported back to my moderator. So just find out who your moderator is, have a conversation with them, ask what their expectations are, and then you can go from there. So I just pretty much have all of my children's work in a file. If I do want to have some work samples, I'll just take a couple bit out and have it in a separate file. But basically, if my moderator comes back, I do have some work for her to see, and I have my anecdotal notes written in the diary so that if I do forget anything, I have it all written down and I can remember it. And so it's just super simple, super easy, no formal testing. I don't want to set my children up for that. We just do a lot through conversation and me observing what they're doing. I take photos along the way of things that they're doing, and I can just put them into a document and have them printed off. But yeah, that's the basic way of how I kind of keep track of what the children are learning, keep track of information that they are retaining, and how I look for progress in the areas that I'm specifically looking at. So I hope you found that video helpful. If you have any questions over planning or reporting or anything like that, please leave a comment in the description box down below, and I can try and answer them the best that I can, or I can make another video if there's anything else that you would love to know. Thank you so much for watching my video today, and I will see you next time. Bye.